Today's video is going to be about the shell removal and just, again, general lubrication and maintenance on my 2056. I got this one off of eBay. I originally bought it as a parts engine, but as soon as I got it, I realized it was not. The only thing really wrong with it, that's not wrong really, is it's been repainted badly. Looks like it was painted by hand, but doesn't matter to me. Anyways, let's get on to the 2056 and start tearing her apart. So we got 2056 on the bench, and we're going to start doing the shell removal, get into cleaning up the armature brush area, give it a bit of lubricant, and maybe have a look at the E-unit too while we're under there. But first, yeah, as you can see, probably better in the light, this thing has a terrible repaint job. I swear it really does look like it was done by hand. They covered over everything. They even very thickly covered the screw that actually holds the faceplate in. So this faceplate is likely never coming out. But that's okay. It doesn't really affect how the train runs, so I really don't care. And then we get to flip her over. And this one, like the 2026, 2018, and all the boiler castings like that, it has the boiler is separate from the steam chest and the chassis, so it can come apart in 3 parts. Come apart in more parts if you really wanted it to. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to take this screw off that's tucked way up in here. And again, before I start, I'm going to get my blue little tray out. There we go. That's that one. And then we got the 2 screws in the back holding on the rear trucks. So we'll get rid of them. And there we go. And now we can drop the trucks on the ground like that, and we can remove the chassis. I'm going to put the boiler off to the side, but I'm going to lay it down on its side so I don't bend those rails any further than they already are. So here we are, left with the chassis, the motor, E-unit, smoke unit, and the headlamp. Now, if you want to take the steam chest off, it has 2 screws underneath the smoke unit. So the smoke unit is what will have to come off next if you want to get to that. And it's just these 2 Phillips screws here. There's 2. This lifts off. Get the little plunger thing out of the way. And then you can get to these if you want to. I don't really need to take this off, so I'm not going to. Just going to leave it for now. So I'm going to put the plunger back and drop this all back together. Now the thing I want to address with this smoke unit is this is still the original pill type smoke unit for this locomotive. Whenever I get the post-war trains, if they have the functioning pill type smoke chambers, I guess is what they're actually called, I work with them. I just use them. I don't try to change them over until they actually break. And for those of you not sure, you can use liquid smoke in the pill type units. It's not going to hurt it. It's going to work just fine. It's going to smoke just fine. Not a problem. So that should put all your minds at ease right now. And I'll show you that when we get that on the track. I'll fill this up with the liquid and then we'll see it all go. Okay. Now, what we're going to get to first, as we do with all of them, is we're going to take the armature cover off. We're going to check the armature for carbon buildup and give that a clean if it needs it. And we'll do the same with the brushes. Take this off. And as you can probably see from the other videos, the disassembly of most of these trains is identical. Here we are, there's the armature, and looking at it, it's a bit black, so we could give that a little scrub down. And of course, as usual, I go with my green 3M Scotch pad from the dollar store. Just a little bit of elbow grease on this, and it's going to come right back. Okay, so we got the face of the armature clean. Now, these slots in between the plates, you also want to make sure that those don't have any carbon built up inside them. So again, what I use is this little flossing pick. It's got a nice soft plastic tip at the end that fits perfectly in there. And if there was anything in there, you just kind of scrape it out like so. Little compressed air on it, and you're good to go. So that is done and ready. We can have a look at the brushes as well. They're in pretty good shape themselves, but there's a little bit of carbon built up on the tips, so we'll just give it a quick swipe while they're out. Every single time I get a new locomotive, before I even put it on the track, this is what I do. I disassemble it like this, check for excessive dirt, oil, and grease, clean it out if it needs it, which it usually does, and then put it on the track for its initial run. So we're just going to wipe off any extra carbon buildup on the plate itself. And then I can send a Q-tip in there into where the brushes sit. And just give that a little spin back and forth. See, there's a little bit of black in there. Not too bad. Definitely have seen worse. And if they are really, really soiled, you can take this off sometimes and it'll just be covered in black. You won't see any of this brass. You can just get yourself a little bit of contact cleaner, whatever brand you like. Give a quick shot onto the Q-tip and then give it a rub through and it'll clean off a lot more. But in this case, there's really nothing there to clean off, so it's perfectly fine. So that's done. Armature is clean. Brushes are all set up. Brush plate cover is free of carbon. So now it's time to put it all back together. So what I do, instead of trying to feed the brushes through the back, I just drop them in the front like this. And the brushes too, I should point out, some of them have a notched end. I don't know if you can see that. And obviously the flat end. The flat end goes towards the armature. The notched end is so that this tension spring that's in the plate will keep the brushes tight against the armature. So I just hold the whole thing upside down like this so the brushes don't fall back out. Line it up with the shaft. And that's it. And you'll feel it kind of settle into place. There's a little indentation in the cover here, which matches up with a little mark on the actual frame itself. And then, of course, the screw holes will help you to line that up further. And you just drop your screws back in, let the screws seat, and then just give it a little extra twist. I don't really want a reef on this. This particular piece, it's kind of like a fiberboard and Bakelite kind of material. It's sort of like a plastic. Not really, though. And it can crack if you over tighten it. And instead of replacing parts, I just like cleaning them and running. So I just seat the screw, little extra turn, we're good to go. And now you can see the brushes here. There's that spring I was talking about. You can just push that back to sit in the groove. And if the spring is a little out of center, just twist it with a slot screwdriver, drop the spring in, and you're good. Now, we can go to the other side, to the bearing plate, and we can lift this off, drop some more lubricant in there, maybe some fresh grease, or, again, if you just got this, take it off and get rid of all of the old grease, which has probably attracted a lot of pet hair and carpet fibers and dust over the decades that will definitely affect the performance of this train. So we just lift that off. Everything looks good. Not a whole lot of excess lubricant there. So really that one's good. I'm going to pretty much leave it. But if you wanted to, you could put a spot of grease down on there. I just use wheel bearing grease. And then just wipe it on wherever it needs to be. Just like that, we're good to go. And another thing, if you wanted to, you can drop a little bit of oil on the shaft, just using a multi-purpose 3-in-1. Some guys really hate this. I don't know why. You can put it in the comments if you're one of those guys that does not like it, and tell me what's wrong with it, because I haven't found anything to be wrong with it. We can put this bearing plate back on, and if you can see it, right here, there's two little raised protrusions, posts, whatever you want to call them, sticking off of the frame. And on either side of the bearing plate itself, there's these notches. So that all lines up. And obviously the shaft going through the center. So that all helps it drop into place, holds it secure. Now you're ready to put the screws back in. And again, you don't need to over tighten this. So there we go. Screw seats, give it an extra turn. We're done. Now, you can address the E-unit on this one if you want to, because it is very easily accessible. These two screws here are what hold it on, or if you want to take the whole bracket thing off, you can do that by removing just this one. So at this point, what I want to do with the E-unit, and maybe I should first, let's take a step back. The E-unit, this is the thing that controls the direction of the locomotive, forward, reverse, and neutral. Some cases, I think it's just forward and reverse. This one is a 3-position, they call it, so it has the neutral as well. So what we can do is, without moving it too much, we can flip this upside down, and you can see this drum here, or cylinder. This is pretty much the thing that you want to maintain, keep clean right now. There are some fingers that go against it to enable these contacts to make the train switch directions. But you got to pretty much take the whole thing apart to get to those. Definitely something you don't want to do on the regular. So if you can, if your locomotive allows for it, like this one does, you can just flip it upside down. And you can either get the Scotch pad in there, or at this point, you can use your Q-tip again. And what I will do with this one is, once again, just give it a quick little shot of contact cleaner. And just work it on the cylinder itself. And it comes up pretty clean, pretty quickly. Now to rotate this, there's teeth going right down the center, and all you do is just get a flathead screwdriver and just walk it around. And the pawl here, if you can see that, it'll hook onto the teeth and it'll stop it from rolling back on you. Allow for a good contact. Sometimes I find cleaning these E-units like this actually quiets them down too. You don't get that zzz, zzz, which some people like. I don't mind it, but if you can get it quiet, hey, why not? So here, this is one way you can use the abrasive pad in here. You just put it on its side, because there's not a whole lot of room to work with here. And I'm not really applying any pressure at all. I'm just running it across, and that's more than enough to clean that cylinder down. So now we can just put the whole thing back together. Just line up the screw hole, pop the screw back in, just seat, turn it, we're good to go. So we've got our bearing plate, it's all lubed up under there, the gears are good, dropped a little bit of oil on there. The armature is all free of carbon buildup. The brushes are good and they're set in properly. And we got to clean the E-unit out a little bit. You can have a look at the smoke unit while we're here. Again, if you just got this and it's been filled with pills for the past 70 years, you can address that rather and scrape all of that off if you want. This one's fine. I don't have to worry about that. But I will put the little smoke gasket back on. And that's that. That's our motor all cleaned, ready to go back into the shell and throw her back on the track. So we just line that all up. There it is. Seats in perfectly. And you can start with the top screw in the boiler to kind of hold the whole thing together. And even though you got this one in, you still want to support the motor until you get that front screw in as well. So this one's a little trickier. Just kind of drop it down in that hole though. And the thinner screwdriver, and again, just kind of make sure the threads are started properly so you're not cross-threading anything. There we go. That one's done. And then we can put our rear truck plate on. Okay, so that was it. Oh, I'm gonna get the handrails back in the holes in the front. Forgot about that. There we go. That's it there. So just a little quick maintenance is going to keep this thing running beautifully forever, or until the next time it needs it, rather. And so right now I'm going to throw this on the track. We're going to put some of the liquid smoke into the stack, and I'll show you how well that works, and then we can send her around the track. Okay, so we've got 2056 back on the track. I got a line of rolling stock ready to set him up with. But first, before we get him started, as I promised, we're going to put some of the liquid smoke down into the stack, into that pellet type smoke chamber. Perfect. And you will see that that will start to puff away as he goes around the track. Okay, so that is 2056, shell off, lubricated, some grease added into the gears and the bearing plate, just a little bit of tidying up around the E-unit and the armature, and some liquid smoke in the pellet type smoke chamber. So yeah, she's been good to go, and she'll be good to go for quite some time now. So thanks again, guys, for watching. Please hit the subscribe and the notification bell. Take care, fellas.